Show me the money. I need to feel you, Jerry. Show me the money. Jerry, you better yell. Show me the money. Show me the money.
All right, so we're back with another episode of Out of State. You are here with Big Rod, and Mike is back. We've missed you guys. I don't think we've talked since the Super Bowl recap in middle to late February. A lot has happened since. Mike's heart was filled with joy and then filled with disappointment after St. Peter's made the Sweet 16, got all the way to the Elite Eight, and then Armando Baycott and UNC was a little too much size. But now the better tournament, the more incredible tournament, it started with the play-in games. The NBA playoffs are finally upon us. The regular season is over. And let's start just a minute. I don't want to give this too much, but just a minute on how the fuck did the San Antonio Spurs get the 10 seed over the Los Angeles Lakers? I know everyone's talked about this ad nauseum at this point, and everyone has their LeBron, tweeted after the Patrick Beverly game and was kind of put crying faces talking about Patrick Beverly and, him going crazy about winning a regular season, or I guess a play-in game to get into the playoffs. But it's crazy that LeBron had a worse record this year with the Lakers than 41-year-old Michael Jordan or 40-year-old Michael Jordan on the Wizards in 2003. Like the Russell Westbrook saga, Anthony Davis talking about, well, we didn't win. We had more lineups than we did wins. And that's kind of your fault, Anthony Davis, because you're always hurt. But what a season. What do you think is like, what do we think we're going to remember this as when we reflect back on this?
Well, the biggest crumble, the idea that like everybody was posting in the beginning when they got Russell Westbrook, and you had the picture of the three of them with Carmelo Anthony, with Dwight Howard, and it was like, what team defeats this team or who faces this team in the finals or something like that. And they couldn't even make it to the play-in tournament.
It was who can beat this team 4 times in 7 games.
In 7 games. There you go. And it's like, yeah, you didn't even get into the play-in tournament. The play-in tournament being something that LeBron James was like fucking disgusted by last year. And they couldn't even get into it this year.
Maybe that was the ploy. He was like, I went on my word and just said how much I despise the play-in game. So just to show you how much I despise it, I'm going to tank the last 10 games of the season and not make it, just to show you that I was true in me not liking the play-in game. Maybe that's what it was.
It's interesting thinking about the fact that the one championship that he got with them is the bubble season. And there's so much it's almost like people want to put an asterisk on that championship because of the fact that it was the bubble, the big break in between, and the last 2 normal seasons, normal, if you will. He's had to rely on the play-in tournament in order to, they played the Warriors last year.
Yeah, kind of game last year.
Yeah. So that's crazy. That's something that's going to be absolutely memorable. And everyone's already talking about what does he have left? Maybe 3 seasons. Is he going to get a championship in those 3 seasons? A lot of people are saying no. Well, Skip Bayless, the biggest LeBron hater, is so avid on that.
Skip Bayless saying he doesn't like LeBron is like, whatever the most basic thing in the world is that. It's like, McDonald's gives out Happy Meals. It's like, that's part of it. It's like part of the brand of what they are. So, but no, it is. It's mind-boggling that, LeBron's almost won a scoring title, dropped 30 a game, and people are like, oh man, his season was unbelievable. But to me, somebody who's just, a basketball historian, just watched it my entire life, you see Kobe in the sacred, weird Dwight Howard, Steve Nash season that never really worked. Steve Nash misses 4 of the first 41 games that year. Dwight Howard was never really in shape. They fire Mike Brown, hire Mike D'Antoni over Phil Jackson, even though they had 2 bigs with Howard and Pau Gasol. And it was the same thing, right? Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, Pau Gasol. Can anybody beat these 4 guys? 4 Hall of Famers. Unbelievable. And Kobe wills that team to the playoffs, goes on an insane run the last month of the season, famously tears his Achilles against Golden State, makes the free throws. They get the 7th seed. They win 45 games. So for being such a disastrous season, they still go 45-37. They get swept by the Spurs, who eventually, I believe that Spurs team wins the finals that year and beats Miami. But just It's crazy.
They won the conference that year.
The Spurs did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's crazy the backlash that I just remember the backlash Kobe had during that season. And I feel like LeBron has been still celebrated because all the blame can be thrown on Anthony Davis missing 800 games and Steve Nash. But just a crazy sequence to see the playoff picture that we have now. The fact that LeBron averaged 30 points a game. But let's not talk about the Lakers because they're not playing anymore. Joel Embiid and Jokic and Giannis, MVP race, followed it all year. Mm-hmm. Embiid, first big man since Shaq to lead the league in scoring since 2022. This year, he finished with like 30.5, 30.6. 30.6.
And 11.7 rebounds.
I've been on Embiid with about like a week and a half left in the season. I think I'm going to regret it because I think Jokic is going to edge him out slightly because he's the first guy to go 2,000, 1,500, I think the stat was, points, rebounds, assists.
2,000, 1,500. First guy to ever do it.
First guy to ever do it. And his PER, I believe, is the highest ever, even though it's a little bit of a skewed stat. I couldn't believe he shot 50, almost 8% this season when Embiid is shooting 50. So that's really impressive. Shocking that Embiid actually shoots threes and free throws higher than Jokic, which I would have never guessed. The only reason, and then we'll move more into the playoffs, but just my Embiid case, I think the entire first 50 games before the Harden trade, the fact that the Sixers stayed as a top 4 seed with that Ben Simmons distraction happening all season, and they literally didn't have like the adequate depth to move through that, but they just put all the scoring load on Joel Embiid, and they kind of had this mismatch of Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, Tobias Harris, and Jokic had the same struggle. But Jokic and Michael Porter, I guess, would be the comparison because Michael Porter goes out a month into the season and Jokic still wills his team to a 6 seed. Mm-hmm. But Ben Simmons felt like a national distraction that everybody in the media was talking about every game, where Jokic lost his guys. Jamal Murray did not play this year, second best player on Denver. Michael Porter, third best player, gets hurt and is done for the season. Neither of them is probably returning in the playoffs. But I just think when Embiid was able to manage on that team, coming off of the disappointment of last year, combined with back-to-back MVPs are a little rare in the NBA, that was my argument for Joel Embiid possibly captivating it this year, even though I make the case that I am a Jokic over Embiid guy, no matter how slight it is. But I did think the impact that Embiid had for Philly this year, even defensively, to be like the last line of defense on that team, I thought was pretty impressive this year, and how healthy he's been able to stay considering his track record.
That's true. The scoring leader of the season. And as you said, being able to do that after everything that happened last year with Ben Simmons, and think about it, if you call it help, the transitional thing that shakes up that team even more with getting James Harden, that doesn't happen until 20 games left in the season? 25
games left in the season, I think. It was the day of the trade deadline after James Harden sat 3 days in a row and forced himself on yet another team. He goes to Philly, and it's just weird. We're going to talk about Philly, Toronto first, probably. I want to hit the play-in game a little bit. So let's talk about the Nets, because do you have anything? Before I go to the Nets, do you have a major takeaway or anything from the regular season that just kind of blew you away? Besides Jalen Green having 30 points in his last 5 games with 4 threes and being like the 5th guy ever to do that, no big deal.
No, my takeaways all included Jokic being locked in as the heavy favorite for MVP, but the argument that maybe Embiid could grab it at plus 200, which is when you locked him in. Embiid scoring title, the crumble, the Lakers, the Suns franchise record. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Chris Paul, baby, led the league in assists. Your boy got that preseason.
Oh, you took that. That's right.
Remember, I already had Ricky check it. That cash for me on FanDuel. I already used some of that money. What were your odds on that?
12-1
at
something I found impressive, the Grizzlies 22-5 record without John Morant. Which they were awesome. That's
why the parallels between Derrick Rose, I need to look that up, because the Bulls, the year Derrick Rose won MVP, I think had some crazy record in the games he didn't play.
My last takeaway is more of a question for you, since we pretty much took care of the awards. Rookie of the Year, Evan Mobley getting rookie, well, most likely locked in as the favorite for Rookie of the Year, even though Cade Cunningham's stats all around were better than Mobley's. The fact that the Cavs had a great season, an unbelievable season, probably their best since LeBron, and making it to the play-in tournament, whereas the Pistons nowhere even close. Is that what takes it away from Mobley and locks him in?
I think it was that. I think it was the fact that Cade Cunningham kind of struggled the first month and a half of the season, didn't play right away. And then, yeah, because he was unbelievable the last 2 months. Same goes for not Jalen Green. It was more the last month that he took off for the last like 25 games. Cade Cunningham, last 50 games was pretty great.
Yeah.
But I do think Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes had more of an impact on playoff teams. And they were playing more meaningful minutes. I know Bill Simmons was big into that argument. I think it was that Cade Cunningham came on too late. And it's like he was such an underdog to win Rookie of the Year by the time we were in January that I think had he been higher up at that point, he might have done enough to win it. But I think because of that, and Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes had such solid seasons on teams that had such great runs, I think that was probably the difference. But I think this was a very open race with all three guys having a legitimate argument for getting the award.
Yeah.
But I do think the best rookie moving forward is probably still Cade Cunningham. Like, I think you got Cade, you got Mobley, you got Jalen Green, you got Scotty Barnes, and then you still got a bunch. Franz Wagner had a great year. Josh Giddey has a lot of upside. Herb Jones might be a defensive player, like all defensive candidate on the Pelicans. He's been unbelievable. Jalen Suggs was hurt, but we saw some flashes. So there's a lot of guys this year that I think have made some interesting strides. Back to my Derrick Rose thing. They were 18-9 without Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose, wow.
Which is still, like, you would think if you're the best player on the team by that margin, the team's going to struggle a lot more when they don't have you.
Yeah, but the Grizzlies did really well. Desmond Bane, I mean, he was incredible.
The fact that the Grizzlies are a fucking 2-seed, man.
Yeah, that's true.
The Grizzlies are a 2-seed with a conference that has Steph Curry on the Warriors, even though obviously Warriors had a ton of injuries. Jazz had injuries, but they dropped all the way to 5.
49-33 record.
Dallas finished ahead of Utah, considering they kind of had a rough start out the gate, but now you have Luka with the strained calf that's kind of fucking them over.
Yeah.
So yeah, the West has just been wide open, which is why, you know, the Chris Paul and the Suns being so dominant this year just feels weird because they're not the typical dominant team. Like, I think we still have that weird taste of the Lakers being favored over the Suns last year in the playoffs. In the first round, AD goes down. The Suns obviously end up going on a run, getting to the finals. But yeah, the West is going to be wide open, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into that. But let's start with the playing game. So we mentioned it a little bit. We'll start with the West because we did have an amazing game between Minnesota and the Clippers. Karl-Anthony Towns. What the fuck was that? Like,
completely missing.
I just don't understand. I had him in a same game parlay. You had him in a same game parlay. He was fucking lost out there, man. To quote the great Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder, super fucking lost, man. I could not find him anywhere on the court. Anthony Edwards became the big guy for them that night. D'Angelo Russell was kind of the Robin to Anthony Edwards' Batman. And what does that make Patrick Beverley? The Penguin? I don't know. He just fucking annoys people, runs around and just gets under people's skins. But it was great watching the performance. It was great watching everybody shit on it after and say, like, why would you celebrate like that? But it's the Timberwolves, man. They've made the conference finals once. They haven't made the playoffs since Jimmy Butler, when we beat them in 5, the weird Jimmy Butler, where Jimmy Butler hated Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins season.
What is that, 2015?
I think it was Kevin Garnett. That was 2015. Yeah, I think 2015. Yeah.
So JJ Redick was talking about it today and defending the Timberwolves for celebrating the way that they were and saying that it was disrespectful of people to be shitting on the Timberwolves for celebrating like that. And just talking about that.
They won a fucking game. Let them celebrate. Like, yeah, jumping on the scores table is it a little extra? But what are you, the cheering police? Like, why the fuck are people so worried about how you celebrate?
Yeah.
They won a game where Karl-Anthony Towns played like shit. So I think
which is
that's
incredible.
impressive for the Timberwolves, I think.
Yeah, because think about it. D'Lo doesn't go off the way that he did too. He was only 1 point underneath Anthony Edwards. He got more assists than Anthony Edwards. I mean, the two of them went off. Anthony Edwards made like 5 threes, 30 points, 5 rebounds. D'Lo 29.6 assists, 5 rebounds. Anthony Towns was lost, dude.
And D'Lo was going off in the second quarter. I mean, in the fourth quarter.
Like the fourth quarter, yeah.
He was going off in the fourth, and I felt like
Karl-Anthony Towns, 11 points and 5 rebounds. I mean, that made me puke because I took my same game parlay with 8 legs, lost by 1 leg, which I told you about. I needed 10 rebounds from Karl-Anthony Towns, which was the one thing out of everything that I took in those 8 legs. But I was like, oh yeah, he could do that. He should. There shouldn't be a problem doing that.
Like he's gonna get this in his sleep. Yeah, that's what you thought. I mean, it was crazy, but it was also the Clippers kind of choking and not being able to score late in that game and using Ivan Zubac late, which I guess they needed the size, but it also felt kind of weird. They just couldn't get it going. And I think it's going to be tough for the Clippers. Now you got the Clippers playing the Pelicans, and the Clippers are a team that just had Norman Powell come back. Pelicans beat the Spurs yesterday. I think most people didn't really care too much about that game. I think a lot of people expected the Pelicans to win. But Pelicans-Clippers is interesting, but I don't think either team is going to give Phoenix any type of trouble. I'd be shocked if either team won more than 1 game. I don't think Kawhi Leonard's coming back. I don't think Zion Williamson's coming back, even though he's doing 360s in pregame.
Well, pick one. Clippers -3.5. Money line is -168. Pelicans +142. Who are you going to take?
I'm going to go Pelicans with the points.
With the points +3.5? Okay.
Maybe they keep it close. I might change my mind by the time game starts on Friday, but for right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will put money on the Clippers, and that could jump up to 4.5.
That's why I might wait, because the Pelicans just feel like the team that's played better as of late. Yeah. The Clippers have better talent because Paul George is the best player on either side.
On either side, yeah.
But you could argue CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram are the next 2 best players, because you're probably taking both of them over Norman Powell. So sometimes having the 2 of the 3 best players in a game is enough to make the difference. That's what we saw in Brooklyn, right? We saw the 2 best players on the court by far absolutely dominate. Kyrie, started the game 9 for 9, I want to say.
9 for 9 in the first half.
Kevin Durant we joked about that earlier today, has become a triple-double machine, and now apparently he's doing his best James Harden, Luka Doncic impersonation. And with all that, the Nets won by, 6 points?
The Nets won by 7 points.
So the Nets, after all that, still couldn't even cover in a game where...
What were they, 10-point favorites?
9.5.
9.5 point favorites.
You're talking about a game where Kyrie, your 2 best players go off, and you win by 7 against a very damaged Cleveland team who just kept finding a way to get back into it. Shout out to Darius Garland, 34 points, 5 assists, 13 of 24 from the floor. And Evan Mobley, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks. Definitely.
Was that his first game back, Evan Mobley?
I think he played the 1 game before the season ended, like the last game of the regular season, to kind of get his legs under him a little bit. Or maybe the last 2 games. It was crazy that Rondo's out there getting fucking 26 minutes now too, because they can't play Isaac Okoro, who was a top 5 pick, which what a mistake by Cleveland on that one. But
but even more so, shout out to a remarkable first quarter, 40-20. Brooklyn scores 40. Cavs score only 20 in the first quarter, but the rest of the game, all 3 quarters, the Cavs outscored the Nets. But you have a 20-point lead going into the first quarter, going into the second quarter. I mean, that's how you don't cover your 10 points. Second quarter, 23-17 Cavs. Third quarter, 30-28 Cavs. Fourth quarter, 35-30 Cavs.
You can see the plus minus. The Nets were +16 with KD on the court, +2 with Kyrie. So as good as Kyrie is, they need Kevin Durant to be elite every night for them to make a real run. And that's what I think is going to be the interesting takeaway. If we want, before we dive into the series, Hawks murdered the Hornets. Neither team plays great defense, but the Hornets tried to go small ball, and Clint Capella, I think, had like 13 and 12 in the first half. Trae Young was off and it didn't matter. Everybody else was making shots. And I think the Hawks are a little bit of a scary matchup for Miami. Not that I think Atlanta's going to beat Miami, but would I be shocked if that series went 7? Not really. Like, I think with Trae Young playing at that level, can Trae Young be the best player on the court in a series against Miami? I think the answer to that is yes. So,
so then if you wanted to take the Hawks -2.5, they're 2.5-point favorites against.
They're
the
minus
Cavs.
what? They're minus
minus 152.
Damn. What if you know what the move is going to be? I'm probably going to do Trae 8 assists at -700 with Hawks money line, and that'll get it down to closer to even money. Maybe I'll do like Trae 8 assists with Trae 20 points, and that combined could be like -1,000 with -1,000 and minus 200 or minus 150. You said
it's already up. Oh my God, you're gonna vomit.
What is it? What is it?
Trae's 8 assists is -1,000.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. How about Trae 20 points?
Well, Trae 8 assists and Hawks money line is -110.
Oh, done. I'm not. Why get greedy?
I'm sorry. Not minus. What did I say? -110?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. -119. I'm sorry.
Then maybe I'll throw in Trae 20 points. That'll probably get it down to -110. Trae's definitely getting 22, like 20. Like Trae's getting 28 every night.
So okay. So with 20 points, it's -107 because Trae Young 20 points is -2,500. And
I would never add that. I'd rather
you would never add that. Exactly.
I would never add that.
I was just gonna say you've taught me well.
One
thing you've taught me is it's don't do that.
No. I'll do the -119. I'll throw in Atlanta. When that line comes out, I might sprinkle a little bit on Miami Heat in 7 and maybe take a flyer on Atlanta to win that series.
Okay.
Miami's going to win that series, I think, but I'm just saying I could see Miami in 7.
Sure thing. Okay. And a 2-leg parlay of Hawks Clippers just winning their games pays out plus 164.
Interesting. Yeah, the Clippers, maybe instead of that, I just do a Paul George 20 or 25 points with the Hawks money line. Okay. I like my boy PG's been playing well.
He has, and honestly, if they want to keep it competitive, he would end up doing that at least.
He would. He have to go for 25. Even though they're going to put my man Herb Jones all defense on him, and maybe that makes it a tough game for him. But we'll see. That's going to be a good matchup on Friday.
There we go.
Don't be a fucking dick, dude. We haven't even started yet. All right. The sun in my face. I look clear. Yeah, I look good. You can't really see the Rutgers behind me, but
I can see it.
Yeah, now because I'm moving the way my screen looks. But honestly, maybe the greatest underdog run in the history of college basketball. I know it's bittersweet to see 3 of your guys now transferring out. Doug just signed to Bryant University.
Everyone is. The Drame twins. Yep. Drame twins entered the transfer portal. Daryl Banks, Matt Lee, Doug already committed to Bryant. Casey Nadefo is entering the draft. He just announced it.
He was a junior?
No, he was a senior. He was the only senior.
Oh, but what could he have gone one more year? No, right? He had to declare at this point.
I think he had to declare at this point. Yeah, he was already past. This might have been his 5th year.
I think Ndefo looked like he had at least like some G League potential. It's just since he's a smaller dude that gets a lot of blocks, he's athletic, but I don't know if he could be a wing at the next level. And that's kind of what he'd probably have to translate his game into at his size, maybe be like a poor man's Jordan Bell. But what a tournament, amazing game. National championship, UNC kind of went down to the wire there. Luckily, I watched that game in Cancun, covered the UNC plus 4.5, thanks to Kansas stepping out of bounds. So covered that by the skin of my teeth. Actually hit my only same game parlay of the entire tournament on that game. I had
on that game. I
had a 4-leg parlay with I think it was Remy Martin 2 threes, a bunch of other. I had
Baycott's rebounds had to be Baycott's rebounds.
No, Baycott's rebounds I didn't have because since he tweaked his ankle, they didn't even have a rebounding line for him at the time.
Wow.
But I think I had a Caleb Love's points. I had Jalen Wilson rebounds, and I forget what the 4th. And I had Brady Manick threes, and I think he ended up with 2.5 threes.
Did you take Caleb Love under in points, or did you take over in shot attempts? Because the man went like 5 for 28.
Maybe I had 3-pointers. I feel like I hit something with Caleb Love, or maybe it was Caleb Love assists. Long story short, hit an SGP, great NCAA tournament. Don't bet money you don't have, unless you feel really good about it. Right. Then maybe it's okay.
That's good life advice, Raj.
Sanity ain't going my pace today. I can't even recall being these ways. To be honest, moving forward's all I'm seeing.